Hi guys, so seeing as it is the end of the school year, I thought it would be quite a fitting time to do a kind of advice video to anyone who's going into sixth form or going into year 12 next year. So I'm going to be just giving a little bit of advice to anyone who's going into year 12 next year, just so that you kind of have a feel of what it's going to be like, and if you have any questions, I will answer them, probably over on my TikTok, so just use my TikTok DMs and I'll answer any questions. I'm going to split this video up into a few sections. The first section is the transition from year 11 to year 12. So a lot of people think that the transition from year 11 to year 12 is like really daunting and it's going to be this massive jump, but I think it's massively over exaggerated, and in reality it's actually not that big. The reason it's not that big is because your teachers will gradually move you into the year 12 content. They're not just going to chuck you in at the deep end, apparently, like they do from year 12 to year 13, but I guess I'll find that out soon. From year 11 to year 12, it honestly is not that big of a jump. However, there are some ways to kind of minimise the stress of going into another year. The first way to minimise that stress is if you get any transition work to do from your school. This usually only applies if you are going to the same school, but I'm not exactly sure because I went to the same school, so. But if you get given transition work, I would highly recommend doing it. I think I got transition work only for biology actually. We were meant to get some for maths, but we didn't end up getting any because we got new teachers in year 12 anyway. Doing this little bit of transition work will just kind of help you see what it's going to be like in sixth form, what it's going to be like learning wise, and also what kind of content you're going to be learning. This doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go and look in textbooks and start learning stuff, because obviously that's not going to help you in any way and you're not going to understand what you're reading. However, doing these little tasks that your teachers set might just kind of help you shift from the GCSE mindset to the A-level mindset. I would also recommend taking advantage of your first day, because the way my school did it was the year 7s and year 12s actually went in a day earlier than the rest of the school, which kind of helped them transition into the year groups that they're going into. On the first day, you usually don't do any work, or if you do, you don't go straight into learning all the content. So use this day to kind of get familiar with how the lessons work, when your lessons will be, and just how that teacher teaches or what their style is. I found from a lot of my different classes that my teachers taught in very different ways, so I kind of had to adapt my learning style to how they taught. So finding this out early will kind of help you, especially with making revision resources. I feel like that is quite a short section, however, the transition, as I said, really isn't that big, so you really don't need to stress about it too much. The next section I'm going to be talking about is your actual first day. So as I said, my school did it where year 12s went in a day earlier than the rest of the school and didn't do any work. They just kind of got familiar with sixth form, and I don't exactly remember what we did, but I think we just had a talk from our head teacher and just spent the day in our forms. If your school doesn't do that though, and you do just go straight into your lessons, you can still take advantage of the first day and make it so that it will make your time there less stressful. The first thing is to make new friends. Now, even if you are from the same school or you know people there, it is still really good to branch out and meet new people. I definitely made a lot of new friends in sixth form, even though I went to that school since year 7. This might be due to people moving to your school, or you might just make friends with people who you've never really spoken to before that you've been to school with since you were in year 7. The next thing is to try and learn your timetable as soon as possible. Now, I know this is easier said than done. I don't necessarily know how big people's timetables are, but for me, I had a lot of frees, which meant there wasn't as many lessons that I had to remember where they were. So I stuck my timetable somewhere in my room. I can't remember where it was. I think it was above my desk. So whenever I was getting ready in the morning, I would just glance at it really quickly. This kind of just helped me realise what I needed to pack, and so I wouldn't forget anything, and it just took away from a lot of the stress. Coming on to the things that you need to pack, there are certain things that you might need for certain subjects equipment wise. For example, for maths, I would recommend getting the correct calculator. For me, it was quite stressful because I didn't really realise what calculator I needed. I knew that I needed a step up from the one I was using at GCSE, but we weren't necessarily given the exact one to buy. so it is quite handy if your school has an equipment list to use the equipment list. However, some of the basic things that you might need is a planner. Our school didn't provide us with planners in sixth form, so I would definitely recommend getting one, because even if you have Teams or writing things down on your phone, it's so much easier to just see everything in one place. If you have homework or assignments or places you need to be, writing it down in your planner is so much more helpful than either keeping it in your head or writing it down on your phone. Buying decent folders for your subject. Buy a folder for each subject. I would probably recommend buying one for year 12 and year 13, although I haven't actually got there yet because my folders have still got quite a bit of room in them, so I'm going to see how long I can stick out having one for each subject. Get the lever arch folders instead of the ring binder folders. They are so much easier for keeping all your notes, and it just means that nothing's going to get broken, and they also have a lot more room in them as well. As for notebooks, you really don't need fancy notebooks to write in, because at the end of the day you're just going to be taking the paper out of them and putting them in your folder. I would recommend keeping your notes in a folder rather than in a notebook, because it is a lot easier to find notes. You can file them, you can put dividers in, but in a notebook they're just kind of in a book. I'd also recommend buying a decent bag. By this I mean, I know it's really tempting to buy a handbag, and I did fall into the trap of buying a handbag at the start of year 12, and don't get me wrong, I love my handbag, but sometimes my shoulder doesn't love my handbag, and when I have to take a lot of stuff into school it can be really heavy, and honestly I just really wanted a rucksack at the end of year 12. I therefore opted for a rucksack at the end of year 12. I don't remember exactly when I bought this, but it was very late into year 12. It has a lot of pockets. This one is from Select. I get asked almost on the daily where this bag is from. It is from Select. It was, I want to say £10.99, which is such a good price for a bag like this. It is a bit dirty, but that is only because it comes everywhere with me, but I'm sure I can just run it through the wash. But I would highly recommend that rucksack. I'd also recommend getting a decent pencil case. I did not do this, and I've ended up having to use just a pencil case that I found in my drawer. I will be buying a decent pencil case for year 13, one that I can just use for the entire of year 13 and not have to think about buying a new one halfway through. The next section of this video is going to be about workload and how to minimise the workload that you're going to have throughout year 12. So at the start of year 12 you really don't have that much workload. You don't have a lot of things that you need to revise. You might have little in-class tests, obviously you're going to revise for those, but other than that you haven't really got a lot. When it gets to around February time, personally I found that I had quite a lot of work and I needed to really start knuckling down revising. My advice is to start revising from the start. This means make your revision resources the day or a few days after you learn it. One, because it's fresh in your mind, and two, because then you're not going to have to make them when it comes to revising for your exams. They're already there. And my second piece of advice is, as I said, to start revising early. Just when you learn your content and you've gone through a whole topic, start doing practice questions on that topic, start doing your flashcards on that topic. So when it comes to doing your mocks, you're gonna know all of this and you're not gonna have to cram for your mocks. The next part is about UCAS. Now, you don't actually start thinking about UCAS until probably maybe like March time. However, I obviously kind of had an idea in my mind what I wanted to do, so I kind of knew that UCAS was something that was going to be coming up. So start looking online at unis as soon as you can, honestly, to get an idea of what you want to do, especially if you don't know what you want to do, because it can be quite hard to figure out what you want to do at uni, but hopefully the subjects that you chose for A-level are linked to what you want to do at uni. Looking online at the courses and at the unis themselves can really help you make a decision of, one, whether or not you want to go to uni, where you want to go to uni, and what you want to study. One of the places that I found really good for kind of helping me decide what unis I want to go to was the UCAS fair. Now, obviously it is down to your school whether or not you go to this, but a lot of the schools do go to UCAS fairs. They're usually just in this massive hall, and it's all these different stalls from all the different unis, and you can just go and talk to them and you get free tote bags. I have so many free tote bags from this event, but the one big thing that you will get out of it is you will get the information about the unis and the courses and what they offer and whether or not you think that it's a good fit for you. Something to start thinking about, especially at the start of year 12, is supercurriculars. These are kind of different to extracurriculars. They are more to do with your own knowledge of the subject and the wider reading and the wider things that you've done to kind of gain more knowledge in this subject. For example, I've read quite a lot of books specific to the subject that I want to do, and I've also done quite a few different like competitions and things that are kind of linked to biology. So I've done the biology Olympiad, but some of the things are done within school, so I'd recommend asking your teachers about that if it's something that you wanted to do. I was personally one of the ones who brought up the biology Olympiad because I thought it would be good to put on my personal statement if I'd done it. Personal statements are a really big thing because you have to start thinking about what course you want to apply for and how you can make yourself sound like you're really interested in this subject, and doing a lot of supercurriculars can make you sound like you really are passionate about the subject, which you should be if you want to study at uni. I'd also recommend towards the end of the year going to open days. I've only been to one open day so far, but I am hopefully going to be going to some more in September. But even just kind of looking when the open days are and thinking about whether or not you want to go to them, being at the uni can honestly help you choose a lot more. It has helped me narrow down my choice, so I would definitely recommend trying to look at some open days. This can also help you decide what course you want to do, because seeing the department, seeing what you kind of do there, it can really help you make a decision. It really helped me because I was choosing between two courses when I went to my open day, and I came back knowing exactly what course I wanted to do. So I hope you guys found this video useful. I know it was kind of just a brain dump of all the advice I could possibly give. I hope this helps some year 11s who are going into year 12 figure out that sixth form's actually not that big of a jump, and I hope the advice I gave here kind of helps when you do go into year 12.